Today in our studios, we have the pleasure to speak with Mr. Kirit Amin. He is the Chief Information Officer at the Bureau of Consular Affairs, which as Indians we're quite familiar with. Welcome to the studio, Mr. Amin.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here.
Now, I was reading your profile, and I see here that you actually have two titles. So it's not just the Chief Information Officer, you're also the Director for the Office of Consular Systems and Technology.
That is correct. The Chief Information Officer is just a title, and within the Bureau of Consular Affairs, we have various directorates, and my directorate happens to be the Office of Consular Systems and Technology.
So what does that mean in terms of your domain of influence and your domain of responsibility?
What it means basically is that the Office of the Consular Systems and Technology is the IT arm, if you will, of the Bureau. So everything that is systems related for the functions that Bureau performs is my responsibility.
So what does that include? I mean, I know certainly visas and consular services. When you go to the embassy and you're looking for your travel documentation, you would use your services from the Bureau.
From the systems, right.
What about things like border patrol and security concerns? Are you involved with that as well?
No, the border patrol is really, and the Customs and Border Protection really are the ones at the international airports, at the border crossings, are part of the Department of Homeland Security. We do not have any domestic jurisdiction, if you will. Ours is all what happens overseas. Consular Affairs basically has a threefold mission, which we break it down into two.
Okay.
Citizen services and non-citizen services. The citizen services basically comprises of two things. One is issuing passports.
Which is the one we all use, and we know very well.
If you're a naturalized or an American, then the passport. When you apply for a passport, you are dealing with us.
Okay.
Okay? And the second part of the mission in the citizen services is what we call our overseas citizen services, which is we serve all citizens overseas when they need help. Okay? What that means, it plays the gamut. It could be something simple as you were in Paris and you lost your passport. Now what you're going to do? Because without that you don't enter back.
Right.
So what you do is going to end up at the embassy.
Right.
And when you end up at the embassy, you're going to be directed to the section of the Consular Affairs, and we are the ones who then use our systems and to validate you are an American, issue an emergency passport to get you back home.
Who sets the agenda? I mean, I'm curious about this. How do you get your funding?
Oh, well, that's a very good question. The Bureau of Consular Affairs, really, we term that as a business. We generate at an average between $2.5 and $3 billion a year.
Wow.
Okay, the reason being we issue today to the tune of 1.8 million legal travel documents to the United States. That's a combination of the visas and the passports. And the way it works today is that we have probably one of the largest massive databases today,
Sure.
which is shared really with a number of our domestic agencies such as DHS and some of the intel agencies, right?
Sure. What about enforcement? I mean, do you have an enforcement arm that's a part of the Bureau? Like, what about fraud? When people come in fraudulently, they obtain fraudulent paperwork. How does your Bureau get involved in policing that or administering that?
Okay. The Bureau has one of the directorates, what we call FPP, which is the Fraud Prevention Program. It's a directorate just like mine. And their focus strictly is to detect fraud and catch people who are trying to fraud, right? Once you are domestic here and if you have done something that's a fraud or something, then it really is handled by the respective law enforcement, domestic
Sure.
agencies, and not
Sure.
us.
So you have a very specific function that you serve. What is your biggest challenge in your domain of responsibility looking forward? What is the biggest challenge that's facing you?
Our biggest challenges currently are, as we call maybe the big three, and the surging demands that are in the developing fast countries such as China, India, and Brazil. Our job is to give you legal travel documents. And our job really is that we don't want to deny visas. Our job is to provide visas as easily and as fast as possible to genuine travelers.
That's an interesting one, because I know that oftentimes it's perceived that the U.S. is tightening up on visas and they're not as free-flowing with visitor visas and so forth. Is that true? I mean, are we actually clamping down, or is this a perception problem, a PR problem that maybe we're facing because of all the concern around immigration?
It's not a perception problem. The problem is that we, as I just said, want to give visas, but has to be to genuine travelers. People who try to beat the system or lie or try to go around it, really, are the ones who say there is a difficulty getting a visa. If you're a genuine visa applicant and you want to get a genuine visa and you're going to abide by the rules and you want to apply, guaranteed you're going to get a visa.
Having held key IT management positions before at Nortel, PEC Solutions, Vector Research, and you're also probably very well known here for being the founder and former president and CEO of Infotech. So what was your trajectory? Tell me about your trajectory from starting out in this consulting space for the federal IT government and then finally being in this kind of a role where you have such influence over the policy.
I don't have influence over the policy, believe me. I don't make policies. We do not make policies. My office is strictly an enabler of carrying out the policies that are done by our visa office, our passport office, and our office of the citizenship service. We are guided by the legislated and laws that are already set, right? Unless there is something that happens with immigration reform and new laws come into being, then we have to do that. Case in example might be 2 years ago when we implemented, they legislated that we issue what we call passport cards for crossing the borders, land borders, instead of a passport, right? That was us again. But they not only legislated that, they said by such and such a date, you will have.
In fact, as far as I know, you can now no longer travel pretty much anywhere without a passport, not even to the Caribbean islands or to Canada and Mexico. It's now a requirement for all citizens.
That is correct. Either you need a passport or at least you need a passport card.
Wow.
So without either one, you're correct. That's what is required now. That was legislated 2 years ago. And that's an example of what the legislation might do to us, that we have to now come up with a solution for the passport card.
Which means really your technology background probably serves as a tremendous asset here because you're used to dealing with diverse set of requirements and you've come up through that trajectory of technology. Did you find that this role in the Bureau really needed that technology boost? They needed to come up and be part of the new technology domain, or were they lagging behind? Did you find that you have to do a lot to bring them to modern systems?
Well, we have for the past 4 years that I have been in